Hi there guys, it's Joel here from Multi-Chart Trends. Today's market update is for Thursday the 17th of January 2013. Today's update we're going to be looking at the S&P 500 and then take a look at the asx200. Before we do that though, I've just got to remind you that aussie-charttrends.com.au and this video are for educational purposes only. Nothing stated at the site or in this video is intended to be used as any form of investment advice. I'm not a licensed professional. You need to make your own decisions regarding your investments. I'm just here to help anyone searching for a practical direction in today's markets. Okay, looking on the hourly chart here of the S&P 500, the last update I did on Tuesday, you'll notice that we were watching the S&P after it backtested this line here. Now, we were expecting that the market would come down, and I was talking about maybe coming down to this blue line here, or even some lower areas. The S&P came down just briefly, and we've come up in a smaller ascending channel. Now, there's two equations out of this. The first equation could be that we're just looking at another bear flag pattern. You'll notice that this ascending channel here is quite large. After we broke down, we created another ascending channel, and then we've broken down from this one, and now we're in this small channel. It could be that, that the S&P is just looking for that last little bit of steam, and that we may come back down. Now for the bullish equation, I had a line drawn over these peaks the other week, which I actually deleted. I'll leave it there because we want to keep an open mind here. I must admit it's quite hard to read this market, so I'm not going to tell you that I know exactly what's going on here, but I will tell you that we are above this support area here. We were talking the other week about this being the left shoulder, this being the head, and our little right shoulder forming there. After we broke out, we hit that 1475 area, then we back tested this neckline for a number of days, got slightly underneath it there for a little bit, then after we got back over it, we back tested it there for a good 3 hours of trade last night, and then we stayed above it. So if we can move on up over this 1475 level, we do have other areas there of resistance up there in the 1480s, but if this is an inverted head and shoulders pattern, we have a minimum move there to about the 1483 area. So that would be signaling a break of these resistance areas, and if we were able to get over this area with a nice back test, that would give us the green light that the S&P is still in okay territory. Just remember, we are still looking at the S&P with a view to move up to around that 1530 area with this inverted head and shoulders pattern here. At the moment, we've still got our support area there around that 1457 area, and we've got resistance there around that 1475 level and just up there in the 1480s. So it'll be interesting to see whether the S&P is finally going to give way to the downside, or are we going to head up to some new highs. It's unknown at this stage, but let's just track the market day by day and see what plays out with this pattern. Alright, let's take a look now at the asx200. Okay, looking on the hourly chart here of the asx200, following up from the last video that we did there, we were discussing this symmetrical triangle pattern defined by this blue line here and this bottom blue line. Now, we were either waiting for a break to the downside to hit that 4,650 area, and we were expecting that if the market did come down, that we would see a nice bounce on this line. But it looks like my optimism paid off, and that the market decided to break to the upside. That's a positive sign for the asx200. Let's take a look here at this bottom trend line that we've got drawn here on the chart. Now, I'm just going to do a small experiment. If we get this trend line here, and we just move it down a little bit, so it lines up with these previous bottoms that we've just had, just like such. Here we've got a number of touches on this area. It does take out the fact that the market hit this area here, but I'm interested to see whether in tomorrow's trade the asx200 can stay above this line, and let's see if it acts as technically significant. The fact that the asx200 has come up within this channel now, it looks as if that it may be coming back down to serve as an area of support on this area here, which lines up with the previous bottoms that we've had there from around the 9th of January. So it's worth considering that we may be looking at a channel that may be a little bit wider, and that we may find an area of support here. Guys, there seems to be no stopping the asx200 at the moment. Now that we've achieved that minimum target to the symmetrical triangle pattern, we just need to see if the market is able to hold on this rising level of support. And we do have that overhead resistance level, which is way away. But at the current rate that we're going up, it's not at all impossible for the ASX to get on up there to test some new highs. Unfortunately, we don't really have a target, as we've now seen our little inverted head and shoulders pattern play out to a T, and it'll be interesting to see if this bottom channel line will hold as some form of support. If we have a quick look on the daily chart, let's just see the resistance areas there. Looking on a 6-year chart here, every time the asx200 has tagged on this purple line here, we've had a really strong push down. A rally up, then a correction down. A rally back up to this level, then another push back down. So we're approaching that area now, and it does look as if that we are rallying up in a rising wedge pattern. These patterns usually do have bearish outcomes, so it is very interesting because the level that we're at now, it's around that 4,756 level that we closed at today, and this line is around that 4,860 level. We need to be aware and keep this on our radar. Alright guys, that pretty much wraps up today's market update. I'll be back on Saturday for the weekly review, and hopefully we'll have a bit more of an idea with what's going on there with the S&P 500 in the short term. We do still have that target there of around that 1520, 1530 area, but if we do see a pullback, hopefully it'll be a healthy one, back to that 1445 level. See you guys on Saturday for the weekly review.